Greetings. This is Marguerite Rigoglioso of Seven Sisters Mystery School. And I'm here today working with Mama Cacao. So, since that is a heart opener and also a consciousness opener, I thought I would share what's coming through me and also tune in to what's wanting to come through. I'll start by saying that when you're a writer or a teacher, it's well known that whatever you choose to write or teach about is what's going to enter your life, dominate your life, affect your life, enhance your life, or haunt your life. So, writer and teacher, beware. Luckily, at the moment, I'm writing my book about Mary, Mother Mary, Blessed Mother. And so that is putting me in touch not only with the divine birth mysteries, but also the prerequisite for being able to conceive a child divinely if you wish to bring in a high holy avatar. And that is the Sacred Heart energy, the expanded heart, the evolved, developed, and deepened heart. Working with these heart energies is something that has been up for me right now, having been moved back to the East Coast and having gone through a little bit of a period of adjustment energetically with my family and they with me as we get used to one another being in the closer physical orbit again. It's come to a very lovely place where I can once again engage with my family in an in-person way much more frequently, which is leading us to be able to connect on a heart level, release things that aren't working, come to forgiveness. And I'm realizing that not only do I need, so to speak, them, but they need, so to speak, me. In other words, we're benefiting from each other's presence. We're both adding. One of the things I'm really learning from one of my family members is forgiveness. I've written about this a little bit in terms of a family member who experienced quite a bit of negative treatment and trauma, as did I. I think it was worse for this particular person. And this person has really been able to move into the forgiveness state, even to the point of being able to re-engage and maintain relationships with these people that were the perpetrators of this. Now, I'm being able to start moving into forgiveness in my heart as a result of this beautiful example. And so this person is helping me, and I am in turn helping this person because we have a family member who's getting ready to cross over, and it seems to be that person's role to be present for that with that person. And so I've been able to provide some information that I've received about how one can best assist a soul that's crossing over. And so it's really been something mutual. So I wanted to talk about and look at forgiveness. What I received in a medicine ceremony recently is that forgiveness is a key to completely releasing all karma in your lifetime, in any given lifetime. And in fact, I was shown that it wasn't even so much negative deeds that created negative karma as much as it was the lack of coming to the place of being able to forgive that created karma, and that led to situations appearing again in other lives and calling for awakening and resolution through forgiveness. course, forgiveness is, in some senses, the final stage, if you will, of healing, self-healing, self-love, love of others, and compassion for self and others. When all of those things start to circulate, and when one begins to feel better in one's life, and when one begins to establish what's needed in one's life to maintain that loving kindness on a regular basis, forgiveness naturally follows, almost like night follows day. And forgiveness is not an end point. It cycles as a figure eight and a spiral with all of these other aspects, these archetypes, these deities: compassion, love, self-love, peace. They all work together. They're like sisters in a family. One is not more important than the other. They each need the other, just like a family needs the other members to achieve what one wanted in this life, which is the personal growth and the karmic release, the karmic resolution. So these aspects, and you can begin with any one of them, and it will pluck the strings of the other, or it will lead to the other. So wherever you are, if you're feeling called, I want more peace in my life, start working with peace and things that bring you peace. You will find that it leads to greater self-love or compassion and ultimately forgiveness. You can start from the love place or the self-love place or the compassion or the self-compassion place. Obviously, forgiveness is about self-forgiveness as well as forgiveness of others. And it's not like there's any order of these things. One leads to the other necessarily. Again, they all work in tandem. They all spiral and figure eight and cycle with one another. They are in a dance together, almost like the universe, the way the universe is in a dance. The stars and the movement of the heavens is a dance. So these aspects are in a dance together. So you're invited to go to which archetype, which goddess of these is calling you the most. Is it love? Is it compassion? Is it peace? Is it joy? Is it forgiveness? Exploring all of these together, working in a healing way, and then working with the modalities that allow one to identify, honor, and express one's emotions is important. And also modalities that help you to understand whether you have experienced trauma, what trauma means to you, what that has resulted in your life. Has it resulted in a fear-based response to life, or has it resulted in an anger response, or a fear of abandonment response, or whatever, a tendency to think that others are going to harm, those types of things. Working with these modalities can really foster compassion, love, forgiveness, and forgiveness, love, compassion, peace, and all of these archetypes and gods assist the process of the healing as well. So everything is working together. It was rather a startling realization that it wasn't so much one's deeds in one's life that create karma that goes on to the next cycle that you then need to resolve. And again, not as a punishment, but because your soul wants to understand, what is it like to be the recipient of what I put out there, until you awaken to the game and then you say, oh, wow, gosh, this is what I'm doing, this is what I've done. Oh, okay, this is why I've been victimized in this life, whatever, why I'm like this. And then you can begin to release this. it allows for a sort of a supreme compassion, a supreme forgiveness to be able to do that kind of awakening, to have that awakening. So the game is all about awakening because, again, it's almost worse to go through life not forgiving than to go through life transgressing. Obviously, both are issues that will lead to karma, but you can actually release a lot of your karma through authentic forgiveness of those in your life, because inevitably that is going to lead to self-forgiveness, and self-forgiveness is the key to releasing all of the behaviors and habits that led to you being transgressive, committing transgressions through unknowing or through pain or through mistaken desire, thinking that this was going to solve something or help you. So we are seeing, oh my goodness, there's such an amazing bird that's getting my attention. Can you hear that? I've never heard that kind of a sound, so I think it's very strong. And there are also bees that are coming up and visiting me, bumblebees and honeybees. It's a beautiful October Indian summerish type day here in western Massachusetts, and it's just lovely and warm. I'm grateful for the sun and the warmth and the bird that's singing and the trees whose leaves are falling and the trees whose needles are going to remain. It is an amazing world. I think that forgiveness and these processes, and by the way, I want to mention that obviously forgiveness is not sort of the pat, oh, I forgive you for everything you've done. But there's not really that forgiveness in your heart, right? Because the anger is still there, the issue is still there, and it may or may not be that issue or that anger is ever complete. But that's okay. You can go rungs and rounds with it. There are people who achieve the place where truly the forgiveness is total. And it is not, these things are no longer triggers. The memories of what happened, the behavior, the continued behavior even of another person is no longer activating you, you know. So forgiveness is very deep. It's a very deep process. It can require a lifetime, right? And Jesus, and now I feel just very moved saying this because I've been looking a lot at this lately in this work that I've been writing. We are told through numerous Gospels that Jesus came to forgive us of our sins. What does that mean? You know, that's deep. Okay, especially in conjunction with all of this other information I'm receiving. Jesus is forgiving us of our sins, meaning forgiving us of our hamartia. It's the Greek word, which means the missing of the mark or the loss that comes from missing the mark. Almost like in archery, missing the mark. It's not a moral judgment, and I credit Charlene Spretnak with first bringing this to our attention, to my attention, and then I've been investigating it more deeply now in the writing that I'm doing. But what does it mean for a great holy being to come and forgive people of their sins, their missing of the mark, the loss and the tragedy and the pain that comes from missing the mark, from not quite getting it right, from not quite operating in the way that would have been in alignment with Spirit? What does it mean to have your sins forgiven? what I've come to is that it's not even so much that Jesus is a high holy being who can wipe your karmic slate clean, although I think he can do that. But the slate, as you know, is only wiped clean when you're ready and when you are not going to be in the place where you're going to repeat the actions. So it's different from forgiving a murderer, wiping clean his karma, but then he goes on to the next life with everything unresolved from what he did and could reenact those scenarios, or perhaps what's more likely to happen, he will be in a position of victimization to see what it's like. But of course, the murderous capacities came from victimization to begin with, so it's all part of this cycle. So the forgiveness of sins, the forgiveness of missing the mark happens when you are ready, when your heart is ready, when your heart has already forgiven yourself and others. That is the meaning of this Christed forgiveness of missing the mark. It's not like anyone or any being is going to do it for us, but they are going to show a template, a patterning, a possibility for how we can do it. And again, it's not that pat thing, oh yes, I forgive everyone. And then you can kind of tell from that person's behavior that they really haven't, you know. Or you might say it, and then you, like we said earlier, like you know you're not really there. You know, I'm part way into forgiveness of a few family members. Now, I was recently able to move through a situation where I was able to get to forgiveness. I was able to reach out, it shifted things, and the relations became relaxed and normalized again. I feel that is a very deep, deep blessing. And it was a lesson for me, and it wasn't... I did not have to humiliate myself, but I had to humble myself in the process. I didn't have to make myself wrong. That's the other thing. I just simply had to say, I'm sorry, I was not aware that this would hurt you so much. I really did not know. I meant this over here, and now I can see how this is hurting you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And when I next had an encounter with this person, one of the first things they said to me was, forgive me. Now, am I perfect? No. Is this person perfect? No. Might things come up again? Yes, but we've been through a cycle. And this is the cycle that we're going through again and again and again on bigger levels, because there's always a karmic nut. The main thing that sometimes we're wanting forgiveness for, that we have done in this and other lives. And this is not necessarily for everyone. There are people who have come in as bodhisattvas who they may or may not be dealing with these deep level traumas, woundings, transgression, victimization cycles. They may be working on different things, they may be at different stages, but for those of us who are, and I think it's many of us, and I know for certain this is me, this forgiveness of missing the mark is very important as a teaching, a patterning that we can then understand and follow. And what is it that leads to the forgiveness of missing the mark? But the love, the self-love, the compassion. So this is what this Christed Master was brought as one of the beings on the planet who's been bringing this teaching. There are others, but his was going to resonate with some people more than others through various events. And also what I receive is this teaching and the particular lineages of which this being came through were not meant to be imposed on other beings and cultures and people, because what I see is that pretty much every culture at their deepest, most evolved level has these teachings in them. And so when one culture tries to impose the specific patterning of their teachings over another, it is a transgression. It does create karma. Again, to some degree it's well-meaning, and to some degree it's driven by energies that are feasting on the process. But then there are layers and layers of things that need to be undone, healed, forgiven, and so forth. So we are really in this soup right now, at this time, looking at the forgiveness and looking at the micro level in our lives is what can help us work on the macro level. So that then, en masse, we are a whole bunch of healed people who are skilled in forgiveness, who then look at some of the things that are going on and approach it in a different way. Say, how can we help with this situation? Do we need to stand by and be neutral, which sometimes is what's needed? If we need to act, how do we act in a way that's not necessarily going to be stirring the pot or creating more issues? And speaking about stirring the pot, I learned something, or was reminded, or felt the deeper energetic truth of something today as I was preparing the cacao. When you stir a pot, literally, you are stirring into it whatever you are thinking or feeling at the time. So if you are thinking positive, loving thoughts, that's what you will stir into the food. If you are thinking negative thoughts, that's what you will stir in, and you will either eat it yourself or serve it to others. This is a well-known magical principle, and it is what is sort of encoded in the concept of the cauldron. It's also in movies like Chocolat, or like Water for Chocolate, where whatever you put into what you're making is what people feel. So be conscious when you're cooking and when you're stirring. When you're stirring anything that anyone is going to imbibe, or even that the diviner is going to imbibe. Perhaps you're leaving an offering. Infuse it with the thread of love. See it like a thread of chocolate going into your stirring, into that spiral. The spiral is that magical symbol, and stirring is the spiral. It is the spiral of manifestation, the in-breath and the out-breath, what goes in and what comes out. Another point here about forgiveness. There's sometimes confusion between forgiveness and letting people off the hook. And the fear that we're just going to let people off the hook and just let them continue their abusive behaviors or whatever it is, if we just forgive them and say everything is okay. And that fear is what keeps us from true forgiveness. But let me see if I can tease this out here. So I'll use an experience from my own life with a particular member of my extended family who really did some things in my life that caused a lot of trauma that I've been, chewing on and digesting and healing for decades now. And if I think about forgiving this person, what does it mean? Well, first of all, it means forgiving them from afar. Where you're in the safer place, so you're not necessarily constantly getting triggered and irritated by this person, but you've given yourself enough space from this person that you can do your own work and come to the place of a deeper understanding of why that person might have been such a pain in the ass in your life, all right? Okay, first of all, look at it. What did you both sign up for? All right, this person signs up for, look, I'm going to traumatize the hell out of this kid because this kid needs it because of the things that she did as a reptilian. All right? And then you agreed to this, right? So seeing the karma helps take the personal out of it in a way. It brings it on a bigger global level of your soul. And it helps you to see, oh my gosh, these people played the exact role they were supposed to do because it was only through this particular configuration of people, places, and things that I was going to experience the kinds of things I did and the pain I did in order to have the possibility of it getting so bad that I would open my consciousness. And for me, in a sense, this is what is happening in this lifetime. So in a way, you want to send a thank you card. Thank you for being such a pain in the ass. In fact, I had a friend of mine, Mark. His book is literally "Thank You for Being Such a Pain." Okay, and it's this karmic question where we have agreed to these things. So it's like a both and. You're holding at the same time this person beat the crap out of you in this life, and you both agreed to it, right? Can you hold both? And as you start holding both, you start loosening the grip. The grip of the anger starts loosening. The grip of the I'm right, you're wrong starts loosening, and you end up being in this much more amorphous place. And you say, all right, gosh, if this is actually true, what are the consequences? What does that mean for me in my life? How do I hold this? How do I respond to myself and the other person? Does it mean you keep going back for abuse again and again? No. It may mean a time of deep separation, So this separation that I've had, I've needed every spare minute of this, and I need more. In order to get to a place. And if I come in contact with this person again, will I get triggered? I might. But then again, I might be in a place, a more adult place, where I can set a healthier boundary that I didn't set when I was a child. I might be able to say one thing, that hurts me. That hurts me. Ouch, that hurt. Not, hey, that's inappropriate. I don't want to be treated that way. You're wrong. That's abusive. All trigger words for the other person, right? Because it's going to bring up shame. But no, just to say authentically, wow, that hurts me. And then it sort of stops. It can stop everyone in their tracks. And if it doesn't, then, you can walk away again. So there's a process that's taking place as you strengthen your resilience and you understand what forgiveness means. You come to this more healed place, and then you think about interacting. So this is different from just letting the person off the hook. But at the same time, it is a radical place, to truly forgive, to truly be in that true forgiveness place of unconditional love for the person who destroyed your life, let's say, through some kind of abuse or whatever it was. There is a power that radiates out of that is unmistakable. And if we are able to achieve this at the highest level, it's a power that is felt in the room and that is actually felt by the other person. And I think this is what the Christed Master brought on the highest level. Does it mean the other person's going to get away with their behavior? No, but it's going to mean how you establish the communication around their behavior is going to be different. How you establish your so-called boundaries is going to be different. And also knowing that it is not up to you to teach the person their lessons about what they did. That is going to happen when they go through their life review. Okay, so when I started realizing, oh my gosh, you know what, these people, they're getting ready to cross over, and I don't have to like have the Marguerite, she had in mind she was going to have like the bedside soliloquy, maybe when the person was in a coma, read it off, all of the things that went wrong that they couldn't say to the person, and you did this and you did that, this is how it affected me. No. I'm realizing that the divine has that soliloquy written already, and it's going to be written in a different way than what I would present, right? It's this life review, and I've been very impressed by the work of Michael Newton, his books, Journey of the Soul and Destiny of the Soul, about his research regressing people into their past lives between lives, and what they go through, and they kind of meet the council, and it's kind of like there's nothing of the hellfire and brimstone judgment going on. It's like, what did you do? What did you do right? What did you do wrong? Well, okay, what do we need to learn about that? Might need to have some lifetimes in which, you're going to get reamed in this way or that way, right? But as we're coming to consciousness in the life, like within the dream, that's what lucid dreaming is. You become awake within the dream. And if we can become awake within this dream and realize, wow, okay, this is the karmic game, so how can I change it now? I don't have to wait until the life between lives. I don't have to wait until my life review. Then you've got something. So in short, when you are forgiving someone, it's not making continued abuse behaviors okay. It's simply, you'll find a different way to be with that or not be with it. It may be that you need to just keep distance because that person is going to continue to act in that way. But you and your heart are in a different place. And I think we'll all be surprised how being in that true forgiveness place starts sending an energy out, a vibe that the person can pick up on, right? And so miracles can happen. Miracles, that creates a miracle space. So allow for the miracle space. Don't worry about that you're letting the person off the hook. This is a very, very deep process that both you and they are involved in to release this karma for all time. And so through these processes of healing, the other day I was in a session with Belinda Haverdill, and I have her permission to talk about this. We almost ran the audio of our session, but it somehow wasn't exactly hanging together, and so we didn't. But what we came to, because she's in the healing profession, is that all of these processes of healing that she, I, others are helping others go through, and that we're helping ourselves go through, are very deep because they are leading to this place of supreme forgiveness. And when that happens, an unhooking happens. An unhooking with any of the beings, negative beings that get food off of these situations, because just like we have, all of these bacteria in our gut, we have many, many beings that feed off of these emotions and so forth. And this is part of it too, so we can also work the karma and the healing from the perspective of the entities. So sometimes people do entity release in conjunction with all of this, or speak with the entities, or send them to the light. It's all part of this dance of forgiveness and healing. And so what she and I came to was that we are humans. As each of us goes through this profound individual healing journey, a collective web takes place. And so then the collective is healing. And as the collective is healing, then the planet is healing, the planetary humanity. And when planetary humanity is healing, the entire planet itself is healing. All other beings and Gaia herself is healing. When Gaia herself is healing, then the solar system is healing. When the solar system is healing, then the galaxy of which we are a part is healing. When the galaxy is healing, then this quadrant of the universe is healing. When this quadrant of the universe is healing, the other quadrants are healing. When they heal, the universe heals. When the universe heals, then other universes next to us, within us, nested within and without, are healing. It's holographic. So your personal healing is healing the universe. And it may take some time, and it may take some lifetimes, and we don't know if, the planet is going to make it in this nature cycle right now that we're in. We hope so. We hope we're catching it before the tipping point. And if not, there will be some deep karmic lessons for humanity and for all creatures on Earth. Even for Gaia herself. It depends on how deep the devastation goes. If it can stay on the surface, she can heal. If it goes nuclear, or if it goes internal, there could be huge problems, and that could lead to what happened on Mars. The devastation of an entire planetary logos. Okay? And then that planetary logos has become a marauding entity that is looking for new hosts and new places, and it anchored in Rome, Mars. Rome was based on Mars, a distorted version of Mars. Okay? Romulus and Remus came in through the Vestal Virgin Rhea Silvia having sex with Mars, literally the planetary logos of a destroyed planet. And that infused Rome. And then from Rome, there's been a whole bunch of stuff that's gone on. It's not just all about Michelangelo over there, all right? There's a lot of stuff, if you take a look. So, it's about a threading inward and a holographic in-out type of healing. So just know that when you're doing your personal healing, it's not an isolated event. Even if nobody ever knows about it and you're living in obscurity somewhere, the person who did their healing and is living remotely could be actually having a larger influence on us and the planet than we who, think we're helping and teaching other people being public, right? That's the other thing. It can be a private affair. You don't have to go on Facebook, online, whatever. I mean, this happens to be my particularly elected role or ministry. I feel that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Others do. Some others do not. They're very quiet about it. And so all of these little, points of awakening create a network and a web. So you're being invited to be part of the points of awakening and the net of awakening. This is really the earthly net of stars. Okay, it's like a net of stars. And so it's a very profound process of universal and multiversal implications. Forgiveness. In regards to what I've been speaking about previously, I want to bring in something I heard on one of Matt Kahn's free videos on his website. And I'm not exactly sure which one it was. And I'm sorry, I'm not exactly sure which one it was, but he talks about a concept called meta-incarnation, if I have that correct. I think it's that term. Now, this was something that had almost crossed my mind, such that when I heard it, it just rung as truth to me. And he said that meta-incarnation refers to the fact that you have actually lived this very same lifetime before, numerous times. And he never mentions the movie Groundhog Day in there, but I think that is the spiritual principle that Groundhog Day is trying to convey. And so you don't need to wait until another lifetime to do over kind of the themes of your life. You can have this lifetime over again on some quantum nested holographic level. This is possible, and it is happening. And he said, you've lived this life many times before. And it's like, so using the Groundhog Day metaphor, if you've seen it, if you haven't, I highly recommend it. You can actually wake up one day and realize, wow, I can do this differently now. I can have this life go more the way I want it to by getting the lesson that's continuing to come up again and again and working it now, making the different choices around that. I find this completely fascinating, and this is then the explanation, in a sense, for déjà vu. Like, wow, I've been here before. Was it a dream? Was it a moment? I think that those déjà vu moments are like pushpins that happen to come through in this life, reminding us, hey, you've lived this before. And everything converged again in this moment, in this moment in time. And usually, often it's a benign moment. Sometimes it's a monumental one, but usually it's like, I don't know, there's something benign about it. And these are just little ties, to show you where the timeline is anchored in, even though between the two push pins, the arc can go differently. It doesn't have to be on the same line, but those push pin déjà vu moments are like stones in a pond that a frog goes over, and how high the frog goes, or if the frog goes underwater and swims, or goes out to the other lake and then comes back. These other déjà vu moments are there to provide the structure of the life, to show you that there is a more or less to this life, that it's not like you're going to create you're going to spin a whole other timeline within this life necessarily. Although I'm sure that's possible too, and it may be that I remember when I read Jane Roberts' book, channel book Seth Speaks, I believe, or maybe it was The Personal Nature of Reality, something like, I don't know, The Nature of Reality, one of those two books where he talks about the possibility of infinite lives, and my mind started just going, whoa, oh my God, maybe I've lived every single thing, every single possibility within this timeline, this lifetime, and others, right? It boggles them. It could be intricate. It could be that kind of a filigree of the universe. That is God's handiwork right there, Talk about embroidery or whatever it is. But whatever the case may be, just sticking with the idea that this lifetime has a more or less kind of trajectory to it that is recognizable as this lifetime. And the déjà vus are reminders. Oh, yes, you're reliving this lifetime. So those déjà vus, now that you've heard this, next time you have it, you can say, oh my gosh, this is a reminder that I can make choices differently. What am I doing that I need to choose differently this time? Like Bill Murray when he gets up, and it's like, how is he going to approach whatever the actress's name is? Is he going to be obnoxious and seductive and assumptive, or is he going to be sweet and authentic and vulnerable? So I love that, because it's like, oh my gosh. And the thing is, you can start the awakening process at any point on the timeline of your current life. It's not like, oh God, I missed all those opportunities, and I could have done this, I could have done that. No, you can start now. You can start the awakening now, because everything going forward and backward and parallel in time will shift as a result of an awakened decision, and to do something differently that's based on your more healed consciousness and your awareness about the game of it, in a sense. So I love this. So think about it. How, if from this moment on you thought, wow, I've lived this lifetime many times over. So how can I make the choice? How can I wake up today and make the different choice on something that's going to come up that will help me create more of the kind of life I want, lead to deeper levels of healing, and have that healing spread out backwards and forwards in time, in this lifetime, and to all my other times that I've experienced this life, as well as my other lives. And how can that spread to the entire universe? That's the level at which we can be thinking and operating, and that's the divine level, right? So the interesting thing that I'm being given here is that there are many people who they don't believe in past lives. They don't, they're not interested in this kind of thought. And it's because, well, they're not ready. Either they're not working that particular thing right now, which is fine, or they're not ready because, for some people, having this information when they're at a certain stage in their life, they can use it in ways that are not beneficial to them or others, right? This is the whole thing about magicians. They know so much, and they know how to work the realms and the magic, and they're not of high ethics. We are in a world in which that has been happening and is continuing to be happening. It's continuing to happen. So, how do we stay in forgiveness and spiritual maturity around that? And I do think that Matt Kahn is bringing in very, very good teachings about this. Oh, wow, just go to his webpage and look at his first several videos, let alone working your way back. Very profound stuff. I talked earlier about, or mentioned briefly, my intuitive sense there's a connection between forgiveness and climate change. And let's see if there's something that would like to come through about this. Climate change is a reflection of our collective grief about our disconnection with Mother Earth as a goddess and all of her creatures as sacred manifestations. It's not so much that we have stewardship over them or control over them, but we are beings that can affect all the rest of life deeply in a way that all the rest of life cannot necessarily affect us, except through their departure, you see. So the extinction of species is the only way that other beings have to respond to what humans are doing in an overpowering way, in a non-harmonious way. So climate change is a collective realization, a collective fear, and a collective grief. Some people have not awoken to that grief yet. And so it is up to those of us who are working with that to share it with people who might be interested, and then to do things together, such as the deep adaptation dialogues that Jem Bendel has started in the UK and are going all around. You could organize one in your town just as a place to sit and express and shoot the breeze around it, even if you don't necessarily come up with PowerPoints or things you're going to do or whatever, just to get it going. And so where does forgiveness come in? Forgiving ourselves for being in part of a snarl, an economic system, and habits that continue the climate change. We continue to use fossil fuels. We continue to turn on lights and turn off lights. We continue to overbuy, perhaps some of us, or source things from places when we could source things from other places and support locals rather than the made in foreign country thing. Even though it's supporting them, but if we want to get local, how do we sustain a local economy? So forgiveness, we're forgiving ourselves for what we've done and for the addictions that continue to keep us in this and continue to make us look the other way when we are asked to create solutions. Forgiving ourselves for having incarnated in this and other lives that contributed to this state of affairs. Radically forgiving those in positions of power who continue to make decisions that continue to seem to degrade the environment and have us not connect. And as Voltaire says, it's about going back to tend to your own garden, right? In what was that work that he did, Voltaire? It was a play or something of that nature, a play or a book. Tend your own garden. It was like the most profound teaching of the entire universe in this play that I think on some level was a farcical play. I'm just not exactly remembering what it was. Candide, perhaps? Going back to your own garden is a way of putting forgiveness in action and seeing what you can do from the inside out, whether it's your inner garden or your literal garden. What can you do that feels right and in alignment and not overwhelming? Those are the steps to take every day. It may be too much for you to worry about, am I going to sit on the zoning board? Am I going to, Marguerite, right, she was just in a meeting and she's thinking, am I supposed to become political? Am I supposed to run for office? Am I supposed to go to these meetings in which everybody's hashing everything out and wasting my time? Or should I be writing and, doing my own inner work, providing the inspiration for these other people, which is like a food for these people? It can be. That's a good role. What is your role? Instead of worrying about it, hanging your head, what's everyone doing? Oh my God, what am I doing? It's too overwhelming. Go to the place that isn't overwhelming. Your little contribution. Your little contribution. Maybe it's just going to the farmer's market and buying the $6 soap instead of getting $3.99 at wherever you're getting it. That could be, that's like a Christed act right there. Okay, buying the $6 soap, you have no idea. Let your little decisions around this work for yourself. This is not about taking on things that is too heavy for you. Go with where your interest is, your joy, your curiosity. That's going to lead you. If there's one little change you can make it. It's not insignificant, and don't get down on yourself for making, just saying, oh my God, all I can do is just recycle. And it might even be going into garbage anyway. Don't worry about it. Add up these little things. They're going to add up. You'd be surprised. It doesn't take, it's like exercise. It doesn't really take as much as you think to start getting your muscles back into shape. Really does not. You do not have to go to the gym and pump iron for 3 hours. You could do 5 little repetitive cycles with the 5-pound weight on your arms, and you'd be surprised what you come up with after a week, 2 weeks, and a month of that. Literally 5 minutes of your time can revolutionize your body. Same thing with the planet, and if bunches of you get together on this, or you do it individually, it creates a net. Go with what you're inspired with. Let it be fun. Bring in the humor, bring in the fairies, and that's another topic, perhaps for another day. So I think we're at a good place to conclude with the information that's been coming through my heart to yours. Thank you via Mama Cacao and Mother Earth. And may we all receive what we need, Blessed Mother, so that we may forgive. Blessed be.